I'm Brent Leary.
Paul Greenberg.
You know who we are at this point, but just in case you don't, yeah, we're the CRM players.
I think some of that, we just say that to reaffirm our own identities because I know I forget.
It's a good
So,
mind jogger kind of thing,
right.
you know, saying your name every now and again so you know who you are at this point. Pretty good thing.
Well, actually, right before we started this, I was thinking to myself, now, wait a minute. What's my name? What am I? I wasn't really sure, but once you said you were Brent Leary, it kind of reminded me I was Paul Greenberg.
You know, one of the reasons that we do the show every week is for this.
Oh,
Spin.
my God.
Our moment of
Wow.
spin. I don't know what language that is.
Lape Zanmi Myo. I have no idea.
I know the yo part, but other than that, I'm
I
out.
know M's a letter of the alphabet. I got that much.
All right, so Sven, you know what you need to do. Let us know what language you're speaking in.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, yeah, it's one of those existential kind
Whoa.
of questions, apparently.
Okay, Christy. So I'm sorry, Dan. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry, everybody. But we're going to be discussing this existential question from here on in. Do
What
you
is,
really know who you are?
yeah, and what is the meaning of is?
And what's that little thing with two dots and a curve?
So many questions, so little time.
I know.
Anyway, we do have a full show. We have not one, two guests. Kind of one is a cameo kind of thing.
Well, one is a person. The only way to put it is we have two guests, but we have two people, but three guests. Wow, the only way to put it.
Explain that.
Well, the second person has two identities.
The
That's the best way to put it.
Something going on here?
No, you'll find out when he comes on.
All right, so we'll bring them out shortly. But in the meantime, you know what? I wanted to do a shout out.
Okay.
Because yesterday was a really, really interesting, whatever we call that thing we do every Wednesday. At
Even more joyous hour.
Yeah,
130. By the way, that was our, apparently, according to what is that? Eventbrite. That was our 131st. Wow.
Haiti
Creole.
Really?
Peace, my friends. Congrats. Wow. Man, that's a beauty.
Dude went all out. He is never.
That was a beauty.
That's a new one. Wow.
Fresh mind.
I don't know.
I can make a reference from the 50s TV show, but I won't.
Which one was that? McHale's Navy?
No. Howdy Doody.
Oh gosh, really?
What time is it? It's Howdy Doody time. He was a puppet. Don't worry. It wasn't that gross.
Bob, right? Good afternoon, LinkedIn.
You
never know. I'm guessing it's him, but you never
know. No, it's got to be him.
Does anyone really care
about what time it is?
I don't know. Wow, 1:31. Yeah,
that was the 131st happy hour that we've done was yesterday.
It feels like, you know what you need to do here. I brought this up because we need to start really promoting this a little better. There's such good things. You know, our buddy Steve Gilmore actually says it's a show. It's not a show, but what it is an opportunity to get together with some really, interesting people and toss stuff around,
Well, you know what? I think Steve, who is, obviously a world-class thinker and producer and also a vice president of media strategy over at Salesforce. Steve he's of the Shakespearean mind, all the world's a stage, right? So by that standard, it's a show. No, Alan went Broadway on the.
Well, he's got daughters that.
Yeah, I went 50s TV show.
I went blank, but
so by the way, for those who don't know it, that's my actual bar in my basement, and you can't see all the alcohol.
Cool stuff.
But the reality is that has been, we started in April 2020 because of COVID, and it kind of just became a place where people from whatever industry are in, nobody really cares. That's one thing we don't care about is where you're coming from. Right. We'll just get together and have discussions ranging from, and I'll let you describe what we did yesterday because it was your question, and two, things like also your question, what would be your walk-on song to your, if you were going up on a stage or coming in to pitch relief for the New York Yankees, of course. What would be your walk-on song?
Yeah.
Right. That was another one of our sessions. But
It
the one
was.
yesterday was particularly, it was a great discussion.
I'm just really interested in if you are, do you watch or listen to podcasts? Why? Who? It seems like it's just getting harder and harder to get people's attention to do this kind of stuff. And we had a really great conversation. By the way, if there is a podcast or a video show that you really like and you listen to or watch regularly, put it in the comment section. We'd like to know about it, and maybe we'll pick up some tips from that. But yeah, we usually have great conversations. So every week, it's whatever Paul called it, Wednesdays.
Even more joyous hour. First year, happy hour. Second year, happier hour. Third year, even more joyous hour.
Okay. Oh wait, and then Sven is saying, "I would need all the." Yeah. Okay. Been one of them kind of days, huh, Sven? Huh?
I'll leave the Playaz now. Leave it to Brent, and I'll go pack up stuff and send it out.
Billy Wagner reference, really?
Well,
Inner Sandman.
What's that? I said if I was doing it for the Yankees. I didn't say if I was doing it for anybody else.
I'm sorry. He was great and all, but no.
Yeah,
that's like no. All right. Real quick before we bring on our guests, yesterday was a big day. It was Prime Day. Did you buy anything? I already know you did. But.
Yeah, you. Let's say this. Did you buy anything?
Well, I think you mentioned or asked, literally just before the show, some of the things I bought came in. Look at that. I don't know if you can see that. How about a 4 terabyte, 2,000 megabytes per second read and write speed SanDisk drive?
Whoa.
It was 45% off. I had to do it.
No, it was 49% off. I just know that I just did the math in my head now.
Oh, there it is. Well, actually, it's more than that because if you use your Amazon Visa card, you get an additional 6% off.
55% off. Now, only a total tech geek nerd would, of course, love to see that, but I bought one too.
There it is. So you can't call me anything you can't call yourself.
All
right, now it's time for a very short. Well, I'm not even going to do stump.
Don't even bother.
Stump.
Might as well just call it Stomp the Grandfather and be done with it.
Jeez. It's so hard not to say stomp, but I want to say
stump. First, Godfather of CRM is wrong. It's grandfather. Second, stomp is wrong. It's stump. Stump the grandfather is probably more appropriate.
Yeah, that's pretty.
It's really stomp the grandfather.
No, we aren't. We're not stomping on any grandfathers around here. All right, let me go through this real quick. First day, you want to take a guess as to how many billions were sold the first day of Prime Day?
Oh, I have no clue. 12.
Wow, that's pretty aggressive.
I went way high.
Yeah, it was 6 billion for day one, which ends up being an 8% year-over-year growth. So in the midst of all the inflation talk and the recession talk, 8% year-over-year growth on spending ain't anything to sneeze at. And it's also the biggest sales day of the year so far in 2022. That was day one. That was what, Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yesterday. You want to take a guess as to how much was spent yesterday?
6 more.
Very close. 5.9.
So they did combined 12.
So you did say 12. Yeah. So
I was thinking together, but
well, okay. We'll give you a
look.
pass.
If you can try to stomp the grandfather, then I can easily twist history.
So that represents, what is it? 11.9 billion 8.5% year over year. People were buying stuff. This was the first year I really actually got into it because there was actually good stuff to get. I mean, usually you don't get great deals, but
no, you get remanders.
You know what else I got real quick?
No.
It came in the mail too. I got a teleprompter.
Oh, you got that, the DesView.
Yeah, and that was like another 44% off. I went to work.
Fast. You did.
I really did. All right. So Prime Day was really actually good. And apparently consumers are like, hey, you know, there may be a recession and all that, but I want my 50% off on my SanDisk.
Also, a brief shout out to Adobe for being so on top of the data.
They sent me an email a couple of every day. I mean, it's like at the end of the day, you get an email with the total. I mean, I don't know how they can do it so quickly, but
I don't know.
Pretty amazing. All right. So we got that out the way. Now, we were at Verint Engage. It's only 3 weeks ago, I think, right?
Just short a month ago.
Maybe a little, about
a month ago.
Actually, I think it was literally
a month
ago.
Yep.
And it was a really great experience. We were really excited to be there. It was our first time out in almost 2.5 years.
Well, for me, at a vendor conference, yeah.
Right. Me anywhere. I hardly ever leave except for getting vaccination shots and stuff like that. But it was really great to get out and be an industry event. It was a good industry event. It was good people, and we were there. And the plan was to do a number of live shows and have the highlight of the show is going to be getting CEO and founder of Verint, Dan Bodner, literally going from the keynote to a nice cozy place to talk to us and doing a live stream Q&A with him. Unfortunately, the technology did not want to agree. We couldn't do it, but we really wanted to have an opportunity to introduce Dan to our audience and have a really great conversation. So he will be joining us in a few minutes. But before we do that, we did get a chance to spend some time with, let me show you who we spent some time with. This guy. Look at that. I mean, that's a poster.
That's Captain Steve Rogers, for those of you who do not know who that is.
That is a great poster. It really looks like somebody, like a professional, did that.
You know what makes me want to do?
What?
Sign up and go fight World War II.
I really does. Can I be the Winter Soldier? No, he was kind of bad dude, right? Anyway.
Bucky.
Yeah, Bucky. Dent. There you go. There's a Yankee reference. All right, so we did get a chance to talk with Dave Singer, who is VP of Go-to-Market Strategy for Verint. Unfortunately, like I said, the technology did not really agree with us. I was able to pull like a little clip of our conversation, which I think got over 1,000 views. So it was a really good clip. So we wanted to spend a few minutes with him, but before we bring him on, this picture, courtesy of Katrina, how do you say her last name again? Gazarian. This was, at least we did get a chance to, you got a chance to feel the shield.
I wanted to literally join him as Bucky at that point.
Oh, is that what was going on? All right.
I'm the same age as the original Bucky is now.
So we did get a chance. You didn't get a chance to get the full thrust of our conversation with him. So while we're doing a conversation with Dan, we thought we'd spend a few minutes with Dave before, or Captain
Rogers. Captain Rogers, sir.
Well, thank you for joining us, man. It's good to see you again.
Thanks for having me back, guys. It was a blast last time.
Well, hopefully that's a figurative thing. So, I want to dive right in. So you're handling the workforce products, and your. It's interesting when I hear go to market, right? So I'm curious, not just what is your go to market with workforce products, workforce performance management products, but what's your concept of go to market? I mean, I'm really curious about what you think about the concept, because a lot of people have a lot of different ideas on what GTM is.
Sure. So that's a big question. A lot of stuff to
Yes,
unpack in there. So in the workforce products, there's a lot of stuff in there because over time, as you guys know, what it takes to really manage the ever-changing workforce expands. There's workforce management planning, there's performance management, there's quality management. Basically, anything with a management in it now applies to workforce, right? Data management it's workforce and customer data, which all you need. So it's a really expansive view of the set of products and data and AI and capabilities to really manage and engage a workforce to deliver the best engagement to a customer, right? And it's that pivot to the customer in the center, and what does it take to drive that full engagement is what the product suite is. So I tend to think of it as more and more of the things we do fall under that umbrella.
Okay.
Now, what is go-to-market? Again, it's a great question. Whenever I try to hire for my team, you put out a call for go-to-market, and you get 1,000 different resume profiles coming in. And I think it's this great intersection in my mind of strategy, marketing, and product marketing. Right. So you need to have this overarching strategy that says, hey, it's not a single product strategy, but it's a platform capability customer engagement strategy that is going to be supported by a set of products, and each piece of product marketing and product strategy lines up to this overall market and platform strategy we have. And then there's the marketing discipline behind it to make sure how do we execute on that. So I see it really in that sort of center of that Venn diagram of those disciplines.
So what about or let me rephrase this. Do you account for partners and alliances as part of the strategy?
Absolutely. It's there's direct, there's partners. Partners fall into any number of dimensions that have to be thought about because we have reseller partners, we have ASP partners, we have ISV partners who are increasingly building more and more differentiated capability to extend our platform for us. We want to be thinking about the dimensions of growth, both organic as well as partner driven. Services is a huge part of that go-to-market strategy because the difference between a product and an offering is your service wrapper, your value orientation, your partner network around it. So we need to think about that. And again, the services falls into again a bunch of dimensions, right? There's the basic get it going. There's direct value add. There's a huge partner dimension to how our partners are helping our customers realize more value and building broader ecosystems there. So absolutely, there's the partner dimension, the services dimension, again, to round out, again, that evolution of product to offer.
One quick question. With the current economic environment, there's a lot of apprehension. There's a lot of fear. How does that change the way that you kind of go to market? How do you deal with what it feels like there's so much gloom and doom?
Sure.
How does that impact the way that you actually go to market?
So, I think you always need a balanced go-to-market strategy. In any economic environment, there are customers and market segments that are more concerned with, cost reduction and safety and just that let's keep, and let's try to whittle down. There's always someone on the other side who's saying someone's always in massive growth mode, and we need to grab market share, we need to sell more, we need to drive more revenue, and we need to work this way. So I think at any time you need a strategy that comprehends the full scale of what our customers are trying to do for their customers, how they're trying to run their business. As the market outlook changes, how many fall on this side versus that side shifts back and forth, but you need to be able to address the whole side. The thing I'm always conscious of is, fear of recession can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? No one ever, I come back to Captain America. You can't defend
Captain America.
Captain America. You can't defend your way to success, right? You need the defense, but you've got to fight your way through. And the same tools that provide defense provide you the same offense, the same way to grow. So we need to think about how can we give our customers hey, you're going to be able to get, permission and ability to buy stuff to conform with where we see the market's going. But hey, just keep in the back of your mind, once you got it, look at all this stuff you can do to grow your way out of the problem later. So I try to be very conscious of perception, reality, and don't feed into the side that's going to help spiral down. So that was a long, multi-pronged answer there. Hopefully that made some sort of sense.
I'm presuming you use this strategy on your missions too, the ones that you don't talk about.
Always, always.
Of course. Well, yeah, partner strategy was always very clear on that part. So, besides Bucky, yes, that's what I mean. You had a large group of partners who have by the way, made a fortune in movies these days.
Absolutely. And again, to stretch the analogy, right? Started with a small team of partners. As time went on, the partner ecosystem grew, and so did success. And I think
now you're going into multiverse.
Yeah.
Now you're going to go into the multiverse, right? So
all right.
That bodes well for Verint, by the way. If you can be in like 20 different universes.
It does. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for giving us a few minutes more, and also making sure that you tie everything you do into your Captain America.
It was amazing. Thank you, Dan. Dave. Dave, hey, listen, can you do one last thing and just show people the actual shield?
Absolutely.
They have not seen it on camera.
It is real. It's not a virtual background.
All right.
School effects here.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks again, man.
That was awesome as always.
We'll see you.
Have a great day, guys.
See you soon.
All right, that was cool. And you know what? I didn't even think next time we see him with the shield, can somebody like fire some bullets at him? Because I would love to see like the bullets actually bounce off the shield.
They won't.
No,
no, not that one.
That's like the full experience, the full Captain America.
Yeah, they have to be rubber bullets or blanks.
All right, moving on. All right, so like I said a little earlier, we have been waiting really about a month now to have this conversation. Now, before I pass it over to the venerable Paul Greenberg to do his introduction, I just want to. I want to tee it up.
You meant this is I thought you were already passing it over.
No, I'm going to tee it up.
Okay, tee it up.
Because I actually snagged a few screenshots from our next guest keynote at Verint, and and I want to prime the pump. I'm so interested in this engagement capacity gap.
That big theme of the company.
It is a big theme, and look how expectations going through the roof, budgets and resources not so much. That's causing that gap, and then this is the other thing that got me. Look how much money is being spent on software versus actual labor. And we all know with a recession coming up, that labor thing is probably going to be going down significantly. And then some of that is going to be transferring over to that software spend, you would think. But maybe we'll get a chance to dig in and learn a little bit more from our next guest, which I turn over to the venerable Paul Greenberg for the interview.
So we actually had a chance to meet CEO and founder of Verint, Dan Bodner, at Engage. We had a chat with him in the morning, and the thing that really was striking, aside from the fact that he's built a genuinely remarkable company, I've had a fairly long relationship to the company. I've been sort of on and off and in an advisory capacity to the company for about, and again, on and off for about 8 years, I'd say 9 years. I've tracked the company forever. They've made acquisitions of companies of friends of mine, like Major Oaks and Adam Golden, who I knew probably 15 years before they made that acquisition. I mean, so I've always had a tie to Verint. And the thing that was always very striking about what Dan's done is that he's built something that even when he disengaged, I'll call it technically half the business. I don't know the revenue relationship, but technically half the business, and moved a security company out and sold it off basically and focused in on engagement. he had a rock solid entity right there at the time. So we know he knows not just what to do, but executes incredibly well. But the thing that got me was what a nice person he was, to be honest. I mean, he was he's a very kind person, and that comes across very quickly. He cares about people. He's good humored. He's relaxed, and he understands. Look, he does what a very good CEO does, which is he understands the market and all that. But he communicates so easily and so well with people, and his genuineness comes across really well. And so I'm really, really honored and thrilled to have him come on the show with us. Hey there,
Hey,
bud.
Dan, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Paul. Verint, thanks for inviting me, and thanks for the introduction. You know, I'm really touched.
Well, you know, you're an immediate. You like immediately. It's sort of like on meeting you, you know it immediately. What a good person you are. It's like immediate. It didn't take once. You know, sometimes you have to gauge people for a little while and kind of get who they are. Not in your case. Like,
I guess I need to hide it a little bit better, right?
no, that goes to the good humor part. Okay, so no, look, Brent. I know you want to start with. I'm presuming engagement capacity gap, but I'll wait. So you go ahead. I've got some things afterwards, though.
Oh, okay. Sure. No, I mean, I was watching your keynote, and first of all, I love the beginning. The folks with the violins and the harps, that was some good stuff. I don't think I've ever been to a opening conference where harps and violins were played, but it was really good stuff. I like that.
Was that an act from America's Got Talent? It kind of looked like one. I was wondering.
Well, those folks had talent, I know that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'll even bring this back up. I love the simplicity of how you explain this engagement capacity gap, because it's who could argue with this? You know, expectations are always going up, and it seems like the growth and expectations is accelerating at a pace that it's going to be incredibly hard to keep up with. But as you can see, the budgets and the resources, and that usually means people resources on top of dollars and technology. It's hard to keep up with these expectations, but companies are going to have to figure out a way to do it with limited budgets. And so I love how you kind of frame this, and then these numbers are pretty staggering and stark.
Yeah. So, one of the nice things about working for Verint is, our focus is on our customers, and these are the brands that deliver customer engagement, but we also are consumers. And after all these years in this industry, we clearly did not fix the problem. As a consumer, I get to wait too long for an agent, and it's not always that I get the response that I expect. And the shift to digital, and this is really what's happening in the last few years and changing the industry completely, is giving the consumers flexibility. Now I don't have to call the contact center. I can chat. I can go on the website. I can use social messaging and try to interact with someone. And because I have this flexibility, I do it more. I can do it from my mobile phone, from anywhere. So my expectation didn't change. I still expect fast and contextual responses, but I also now have the flexibility to do it more. And every one of these engagements is putting a burden on the brand to respond, and they're not really ready. They have limited resources and budget, as you said, and if they don't apply new technology, they have to hire more people. And then you show the second slide, which is how much they already spend on labor, $2 trillion a year. That's 97% of the spend. Only 3% is technology.
Wow.
I think the industry has been really thirsty for technology. But quite frankly, as someone who's been in this industry, as you know, for quite some time, the technology was not ready. And it's getting better. It's not perfect, but AI is now at the point that it can do more. It doesn't replace people, but it can assist people. So rather than add human resources, you can add technology resources, AI bots, and more importantly, if you get human bots to work together, that's where you not only get more capacity, but you also elevate the customer experience. Because we all know when you leave it up to the bot to do your work, it's not always ending the
It never ends well. Right. So let me throw a little bit of nuance, well, actually a fair amount of nuance into it, because one of the things that, when you're dealing with literally the actual, let's call it the customer's increased expectations around engagement and interaction, sometimes it's, let's say, right, meaning it's an appropriate form of expectation. Other times it's just customers acting like entitled jerks, really. And it happens. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I grew up, let's say, historically, politically, on everything on the side of the customer. Okay, I've always been on that side. I mean, let's put it this way. In my youth, it was bourgeois versus proletariat, right? So, now it's, business and customer, and I tend to be an advocate for the customer. But that said, it still doesn't mean they don't act like entitled jerks enough to actually impact businesses badly if the business makes a decision that the interactions are sort of co-equal with genuine expectations. So technology can only go so far in dealing with that, and AI can probably identify some of that. How do you address that problem? Both, how would you, as you address it, and how does Verint address it technologically?
Yeah, so one thing that people can do and bots cannot do is empathy. And even when the customer is a jerk, there's a certain way to handle a customer because he is a customer, he or she is a customer. So that's why we first think that the workforce is one workforce where people and bots are working together, and bots really understand their limitation, and dealing with tough situations and showing empathy is not their strength. But you wanna relieve people from the mundane tasks that bots can do. That's how you can create more capacity, but also create that focus on what does work for customers. And even customers that are difficult, when you turn them around, they buy more. So that's the trick of customer engagement is not just to get off the phone as quickly as possible and declare victory, but it's actually to keep customer for life and to increase the revenue opportunity over the lifetime of the customer.
During the analyst part of Engage, you said something that really stuck with me around, there's applications, they turned into silos, a long time ago, and people still are trying to figure out, even if you move into the cloud, that doesn't mean that you've broken away from the siloed approach. But you also talk about the potential for social channels to become their own silos, and even bots could be their own silos. How dangerous and how important is it for companies to not go down the siloed path with bots, with these social channels, because it feels like it's already bad, but it could really spiral completely out of control if that really actually happens?
Absolutely. I think it's already bad and it's getting worse. But the reality is that, brands are evolving, and they have a workforce that used to be in the contact center responding to phone calls, and then came email. So they created a group of people that you guys are going to respond to the emails, and then came chat. Okay, here's another group. And then they realized they want to apply bots. So they implement bots in different parts of the organization, on the website, in different channels, and many brands have more than one social channel that they offer their customers. And one day they wake up and they see that the same customer is trying to connect over different channels and different engagements, and they get completely different experience with silos. One example which I gave at Engage, and I'll repeat it because I think it's a simple one, is when I get to interact with bots and they ask me 20 questions, I'm very patiently responding because I expect, that's the beginning of an interaction. I'll answer the questions. They know what I want. They'll give me the response. But very often the bot gets stuck. and that's the end of the interaction. And guess what? In most cases, I have to call. The bot doesn't really deliver the call, the interaction further, and I have to call, and I get an agent. This time it's a person, and they ask me the same 20 questions because they have no visibility to the history of my prior interaction with the bot. So that's a very simple explanation of why the silos creates bad customer experiences, but also it's a waste of time, it's a waste of resources, and it contributes to the capacity gap. Because not only that, you now have two interactions instead of one. The second interaction, you spend a lot of time with the agent answering the same questions you already did. So it's a lose-lose combination for brands to continue down the path of the silos. But the fact is that because the industry evolved and the silos at the beginning where they look like, okay, it's harmless. Let's just put another silo, and now, wow, with social media and all that, with social channels and all these different flexible engagement opportunities, now they see they have too many silos. And one more thing, the days where you go to the branch or the store and you have an experience, face-to-face experience, and then you call the contact center and you have a different experience, I think those are also very damaging to the brand reputation, because if I like to be in the store, or I like to go to the bank for banking in the branch, but I hate the online or contact center, I mean, I'm an unhappy customer. So connecting silos, not just across different channels, but also across the online, the physical, and the voice channels. I see more and more brands are moving into this direction, and they see a lot of benefits when they do that.
So let's go sort of a different direction. But I think it was 3 years ago that you decided to divest yourself of a business that was actually doing pretty well, if I remember correctly, which was your security business. And you decided to focus in on engagement, CXEX kind of with Verint, and still managed to keep a pretty large business going independently. What actually led to that decision? I'm really curious, because when you did it, I was kind of ecstatic, to be honest. I thought it was a great move.
The same way the industry is evolving, people are evolving in their life, and brands needs to evolve as well. And when I started the company, the focus was unstructured data analytics. Right. And my vision was we're going to help organizations to put together unstructured data, which was quite, in 1994, it was a pretty difficult proposition, and get value from the data. There's lots of insights in data, and a data-centric approach to problem solving is very important. As the company started to grow, we found two types of customers with two different problems, but both requires a lot of unstructured data analytics. One was in the customer engagement field, which is Verint today, and the other was with governments that were actually trying to conduct very complex investigations, and they were looking for clues and evidence, and they needed a lot of analytics. And as the company grew, we grew those both divisions pretty well, to the point that one day it was pretty obvious that, hey, I got two kids. They're both wonderful. They are, one is more of an artist and the other is kind of a scientist. So the synergies were less and less, and they are grown up, so they can be on their own. And that's what led for the decision.
Oh my God, that's horrible. But that means you're favoring one of your children, and that the security company is going to be in therapy for years.
Well, you learn from therapy as well. So if that's the best.
So I got you said something a little earlier about how technology is starting to catch up with and be able to provide companies with the tools they need to have create better engagement experience with their customers. But it also feels like actually even though technology is not completely where maybe we'd like it to be. It still feels like technology is still ahead of companies in terms of using it for getting the most out of what is currently there for engagement. Are you seeing technology not be as far or not as far out of step with corporate structure and a corporate strategy and maybe even corporate culture, because it feels like sometimes there's an over dependence on technology just to say that you have it, but you don't really use it to its fullest in a way that you get even more out of it than what you're getting out of it now. Are you seeing that even though there's still technology will still advance and provide even more, do you think that companies are structured in the right way, or operating in the right way to at least take full advantage of the technology that they already have?
No, you're absolutely right. They're not, because the technology in this case, it requires a business process change, and that's hard, especially in large organizations with thousands of people involved in customer engagement. The simple concept of people and bots working together is a new concept, and it's not something that is easy for customers to change. And also, we see that many customers that actually bought our technology are using it not to the fullest potential, which is not something unusual. I have an Apple mobile device, and I probably know only 5% of the features, and my kids always laugh at me. But the same thing goes with any technology. And when you think about lots of different departments in a large bank with a lot of different products and services that they have to push to their customers, and it's a process. It's a process for customers to first. I think you said it first. There's a cultural change that they need to acknowledge that it's time for this technology. So the more painful the capacity gap will be, the more organizations will wake up and say, we have no choice. It's not going to happen if they have a choice. Without the capacity gap, we probably will just stay the same. And that reminds me, I think it was 10, 15 years ago, maybe more, where we saw a huge shift of resources from the US to low-cost areas, India, Philippines, and so on, where at the time this was perceived to be, that's the solution. We can actually reduce the cost and deliver the same level of service. And they learned, no, it's not the same level of service. It was not. So they have to balance not just cost, but also customer experience, so they can retain customers and maximize revenue from customers. And so I think we are in another cycle now that organizations are realizing, resources are not sufficient. Hiring more people is not sustainable. Inflation, wage inflation, difficult to hire, tough. And even when you hire people, if you don't give them technology, they leave. The young generation, they want the tools. They want the best tools, the same social type of tools that they're used to in their work environment. So they feel that they are empowered to do the job, because they don't want to be beat up by customers that are yelling at them all day long that they're useless. So I think, yes, it's difficult. You absolutely agree. We have a services organization in Verint for that specific reason. We don't want just to dump the technology. We're offering our customers help to deploy and realize value from the technology. Some customers feel that they can do it themselves. Some customers reach out to Verint for services, and many customers reach out to our partners, which is wonderful, because we want to empower our partner ecosystem to deliver a lot of services and value around our platform. But customers need help, and they're going through that change process.
So we're going to draw you into the never-ending debate and discussion, and you're one of the, actually, interesting enough, few people who can probably answer this properly. The never-ending debate of happy employee equals happy customer, because you're dealing with EX and CX, and to that end, you even had EX influencers like Katrina Gazarian at your conference, so you're aware of the role of EX. Now, I will tell you, just to set the stage, happy employee equals happy customer is not the right answer.
It's not equal. It's not equal, but I saw many organizations over the years. And I do see a great correlation. When the employees are unhappy, customer satisfaction is not high. But it's not equal. I mean, if employees are happy, that's not sufficient.
Right. And it's the other side is, honestly, and it's a discussion that it's interesting to watch who comes down on what side too. I know most of I'll call it a reasonable chunk of the CX analysts understand that just because you have happy employees doesn't mean your customers are going to be happy too. Because, basically, if your technology sucks and you have happy employees, the customer will say, look, it's not because of you, but I'm leaving your company anyway because I can't get what I want at all, but I won't yell at you because I like you. But that's about the extent of it, right? So, people want to make it that simplistic soundbite that they can make it, which is one of the big problems we always have, which is we listen way too much to sound bites. But companies like Verint, who can actually provide the CX and the EX technologies, actually I think, have a very strong strategic advantage, really. And there aren't that many that provide both.
We see a connection. You're absolutely right. It's not one-to-one, but there is a connection. I'll give you a simple example. If you turn over your customer engagement stuff every 3 months, they're not enabled, right? They don't have the knowledge, they don't have the skills. So obviously you need a certain level of satisfaction so that they stay in the job. One thing we added to the platform relatively recently is a hiring model to the platform that basically, as part of the hiring problem, try to profile the type of people that will fit into the environment based on what we learn from the day-to-day of what does it look like in that customer environment. Because when you get a better fit up front, when you hire the right people and they know what they're getting into and they have the right profile, they'll stay longer and they'll be more productive. So there's a lot you can do to create a productive and capable workforce that will have an influence on your customer experience, but it's not the end of it. It's right. It's a component.
Good. I'm glad you answered it as a component. That's all I can say. Esteban Kolsky, who you may or may not know, he was an analyst for many years. He now works as the evangelist for CX at SAP, but he's the one who's in effect started. Esteban is incredibly insightful, one of the most insightful people I've ever met, really, and he also can be very edgy. And so he's the one who started a lot of the discussion around happy employee equals happy customer, him saying, no, that's not right. It started with him, and it's been kind of going on for about a year solidly now. And there still are people who believe these simple equivalents, which I think is
nothing simple.
There's always a temptation to simplify. And one of the interesting things about CX and why we incorporate CX into our platform is, CX is a lot about measuring the customer satisfaction, and you do it through surveys. You can do it in different ways, but at the end of the day, you measure and you get feedback and you try to analyze it. But what we learn is that even if you know what's not working, to fix it is a different proposition, and that's why we felt like we need to connect the measurement with the tools that we're providing to the brand to actually make change and improve, and then keep measuring so you know that what you change is actually working. Mm-hmm. Because we saw many customers said, oh, I just made a change and I know the customer side is going to really move up, and well, it didn't, but they only find it out 3 months later, and it's not real time or near real time, and we're trying to close that loop. So the type of question whether EX equals CX, if you're in a particular brand and you think that's your theory, that your problem is EX, and if you fix it, you improve CX, try it, but measure CX near real time, in a matter of hours and days.
Right.
So you can clearly connect the two things and see if your hypothesis was the right one. Because in some cases it could be, but it's not always. I agree. It's not. It's in many cases it's not the issue.
Hey, I want to show you guys something before I ask Dan this next question. This is a shout out to Tina Gilmore. She took a screenshot, so they're watching us on their TV. That's what that that picture is.
Oh, we must be a feed to NBC, right?
Well, yeah, maybe we're CNN Plus. I don't know.
That's
Maybe that's what's going
we're talking on. We're talking to CNN Plus's one subscriber.
Tina Gilmore. She is.
That's right. She kept it. She kept her subscription.
Thank you, Tina, for sending.
Thanks, Tina.
That's really cool. All right, I'm going back to the well with the engagement capacity gap here. So Dan, if my math, and I was actually pretty good at math, but I wasn't So if we add up the 65 billion to the 2 trillion, that's 2.065 trillion that's being spent currently. But we know that the probably the overall number is probably going to come down over the next couple of years because, there's going to be a move to spend more on the technology, I'm assuming. And I'm also assuming that the total number will not just be transferred over from labor to software. I'm assuming most companies are going to hope that the dollars that they take away from labor and put into software will allow them to not spend as much overall. But give me your take on what do you think the optimum mix of labor to software is going to be in successfully closing this engagement capacity gap?
Yeah. So look, it has to do with how fast the technology will improve. Because today, we can do more, but we certainly are not going to replace people. This is not the autonomous car that you don't need a driver anymore. This is more about how do we assist the driver while they're trying to do many, many things. They're trying to, take a phone call, and maybe they also have to, be on some messenger response, and they want to take. Someone has an insurance claim, so they want to take details, but now they have to activate the back office person who is going to start the processing. There's a lot of things that brands are asking their people to do, and when it's very simple question that I have as a consumer, yes, the bot can answer the question. That's no problem. But as things are getting more complex, or is an opportunity for the brand to maximize the value of their customers, they want to engage employees. So I'm not necessarily projecting that the labor will decrease, and with inflation, labor wages will go up. So even if they are able to keep the $2 trillion where it is today, that's a win. That's a big win for. But the pressure that we see brands are under is actually to add more people, and again, many have they found it unsustainable, so they just deflected conversation to bots, and then they get very poor responses from their customers that this is not working. So I think the pressure in the near term is not so much I'm going to reduce my spend, but I need to do more with my people. And I think if we can solve that, I think our customers are going to be very happy.
So I actually have a completely non-business question for you, which is just, what do you like to do for fun? Really? Like if you're just chilling, What do you like to do? You like to?
Well, first, I'm having fun now, so this is kind of one of my
Okay,
activities.
well, okay. We'll have you on every Thursday from here
Let
on.
Celia know that.
Well, I enjoy my family, and I play tennis. And soon it's going to be U.S. Open. I'm based in New York, so U.S. Open is a big event for me.
Oh, cool.
And
Is this- do
you
they
definitely
still-
see me there if you are going?
Is that at Forest Hills still? What do they do to U.S.
Yeah,
Open
they moved
now?
it from Flushing Meadows years ago.
Flushing Meadow, yeah, it's been there for the last, I think, 30 years.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I mean, I pay
It
attention
used to
to
be
it.
in Forest Hills many years
That's
back.
where-
And,
Yeah.
Years ago, I actually went to it in Forest Hills, but that was literally when Arthur Ashe was playing. Right, that's how long ago it was. Right, so
And Forest Hills still have a grass court, which I never played
Yeah.
grass, so I one day I want to play on
Never
grass.
played Wimbledon, Dan?
Yeah, Wimbledon is grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm going to play there.
are you good? Are you a good tennis player?
I am at a 4.0 level, which is consistent, but not really
Yeah.
good.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's
It's-
not bad at all.
not bad.
I mean, no. So, are you a singles only? You play doubles? I mean, what do you do?
I prefer single because
Yeah.
I like the competition, and I can't blame anyone else. But I play mixed doubles with my wife, and that's always a disaster.
Wait a minute. Does that mean you end up blaming her if you lose? Is that what's going
Let's
on?
not go into what's going on in the game.
You know who wins that battle? Forget that. Right. So,
I don't
so-
recommend mixed doubles unless you really have to.
now, I guess the other related question is: do you have any like favorite? Do you watch TV? Do you watch movies? Do you have any favorite movies? TV? I'm curious, really.
Not much. I like movies, mostly action movies. That helps me kind of to take my adrenaline off when I see other people running around the screen. But not any good movies. There are plenty of good movies, and unfortunately, there are many that are not so good.
Okay. Yeah, I have no particular like all-time favorite.
No.
Okay.
Sound of
Just
Music.
checking.
All
No,
right.
that's a
All
good
time,
one.
you know. That
Okay.
dates me. That dates me. Sound of Music.
All right. Now I got one question because it goes. So yesterday we do this weekly happy hour, and we had this really great discussion around podcasts. What makes for a good one? What makes for an interesting one? What makes you want to listen to it? Do you listen to any podcasts at all?
Not much. Not much. You know, if it's highly recommended by someone I trust, but not, I wouldn't randomly just go and listen. No.
I would be listening to one that we'll tell you about in about a week. But
All right. So we got one. We got to wrap this up. This has been this hour
Fantastic.
really flew by.
yeah.
It was great, and as great as this conversation is,
Well,
we have.
you know, before you get to it, you remember we did actually ask him this already, but
we-
this is for the public record. We asked
Right.
him this question at the conference, even though we weren't live. But Dan, sorry for you, but we have to have this for the public record. It has to be recorded. It has to literally be recorded so that in the future it can be reviewed.
So,
All right. Right.
yeah, we already. There's really no suspense for us. But so, do you have a favorite NFL team?
I would answer you the same response that I gave you. We were in person, and you know, football is not where I am.
Right.
So,
Hey,
for the record,
Okay.
record, that's not a bad answer. There's only
Had
one
to be
bad
recorded. Brent
you know,
just
once a year
time
playoff,
stamped
but it's really mostly for the halftime, not for the game.
answer.
it. Well, Brent, just
Okay.
don't worry. It's now recorded, time stamped, and if anyone wants to audit, there's an audit trail.
It's
So
on the
we're good.
record. By the
We're
way, one of our regulars says it's been nice listening to Dan.
And funny to listen
Nice
to.
and
you.
funny to listen to you, Dan. So that's
You see, that's good sense of humor, I said.
Here's my next career. Yeah.
and yes, Bob Fagel. We prepped him. No, we didn't even have to prep him.
We didn't prep him, Bob. We
Didn't
just asked him the question, but we have to. again, it has to be recorded and for the public record.
Dan, it has been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for making time.
It was awesome.
It would have been great to do this live at the conference, but I'm just glad that we had an opportunity to do this today. It was a great conversation. I am really interested in the capacity gap stuff and how you kind of track it and map what you guys do to try to decrease it. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, actually, offline at some point, I'd like to ask you about your estimate of the customer engagement market. I was reading the details underneath, again, offline. I'd like to talk to you about that because that really interests me, and I'm curious about some things.
Okay.
Just
Thank you,
saying.
guys, and have a wonderful day.
You too. Enjoy your weekend. Play tennis.
On behalf of Dan Bodner, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players, and I am looking desperately to find.
Can't find Minnie?
I've added so many pictures lately. It's like, oh, all right, finally.
Okay.
Now we can end the show.
Now we can
There's
close.
Minnie. Have a good one, folks. We'll see you next week.